Well, let's go with Doc Lovelace, who welcome to the show, Doc, and News and Views and Scale. He's going to have part two here of his Hellgate Bridge. He calls it March 1st, 1912. And tell us why March 1st, 1912 is an important date.
That was the date that they actually began construction, groundbreaking, if you will, on the bridge. So, being as I have now gotten, well, pretty much painted all of the pieces individually, um, numerous layers upon layers upon layers of paint to try to justify or not justify, but give it its due credit. The paint that you will see on 110-year-old rusted iron. We are now ready for construction, I believe, at least on the main uh, skeleton aspect of it. So it was the groundbreaking and beginning of the construction of that. So it's my beginning as well.
Well, let's pop up your presentation and away we go.
All right. So as I mentioned, it's 109 years old as of this March, March 9th to be exact. It's got, and like I said, I've talked about this a little bit beforehand on the previous presentation, but I have learned so much about engineering and the mechanics and building and all the equipment that it takes, the materials and everything, and the infrastructure that would be built around it to make a bridge, especially one of this scale, actually happen. And I learned that this has one of the deepest rivets of any bridge ever made. The rivets themselves are 9 inches long or 9 inches deep into the steel, and there's 400,000 of them just in this main span that you see here. I also read that back then they were 25 cents a piece, and that's in, early 1900s, but they said that that was actually pretty expensive for the time. Um, they used 18,900 tons of steel just on the main span that you see here, going from arch to arch. That does not include the other bridge that kind of scurries and takes a right here across Randall's Island. But all in all, the entire project took about 4 years, which, to be quite honest, is looking about how long mine's going to take, even at 1/160 scale. But the entire project took 800, or I'm sorry, 80,000 tons of steel. And back then it cost about $18.5 million. So we can go to the next one because I will show you what I've been painting. Now, these right here, let me get my notes up. These are what are called, I believe they're called struts. They go across the top of the arch from pier to pier. Now, there's another set of them that you'll see in a picture here following that actually go underneath. And the reason that they are completely different and another monster in and of themselves is each one of those is a different size and shape. And they correspond with the arch as it leads to the top. Therefore, they have to change size. And there are 43 of these that you see right here that will go across the top. And there's a few less of the ones going underneath. But each one of these, and another reason why I say this might take 4 years and why it may look like I don't have a lot accomplished yet is if you really look at each one of these has about 8 layers of paint, very diluted paint on them, that I just built up and built up. As you can see here, try to get a light on this. There are no two alike, quite literally. No two of these are the same. The paint is just a tad different. There's variations of browns, reds, all kinds of fun colors that give it a very believable look. And to be quite honest, this is just the base layer. Once I get the bridge fully built and erected, of course, then I will go over it with the weathering of it and kind of try to bleed it all together and make it look a little bit more believable, as if it's a family that has lived together for quite a long time. Man and woman start to look together, look alike after they've been together for 60 years or something. The bridge will do the same as well. So you can go to the next one. So this, if you remember, 5 or so months ago, I had told you what I had started building back in January, at the very beginning of this year, and that was the first section of the lead-in piers and the bridge decking that goes on top. The bridge decking that goes on top, I was building out of like the fiberboard type, not fiberboard, but the mat board type material. And I noticed that whenever I put the amount of weight that it would take to put the 8 stringers, the girder stringers underneath, it didn't matter what I did, what I glued it with, however I fastened it, there was always going to be some warping. And warping, even if it's a couple of millimeters and in scale, does not work. So I had these designed and built out of the same MDF, but a little bit thicker than what the bridge is made out of. And it's the exact specifications of the bridge as well as the mat board that I had created before. These are 22 inches long and 13 centimeters wide. And that runs to the exact specifications of the bridge. Now these are just for the lead ends, mind you. This has nothing to do with the bridge. This will be the suspended rail system that goes through Astoria, Queens. I have, I believe, 11 of these, which comes out to 242 inches. So when you hear Tom talking about this 20-foot long bridge or whatever, yes, the bridge itself will only span about 6.5, 7 feet itself, the main span. But this is where that other part comes in. All of this will be elevated rail above Astoria, Queens, and it will stretch and stretch and stretch and stretch. So I chose this method and had these little teeth that you see right there, interlocking teeth, as a way to allow it a little bit of flexibility, but also still keep it pretty rigid once they are fastened in place and glued. It will support the bridge, I believe, much better than mat board. And I thought that it would work, but after, you start dealing with the weights and the sizes involved in this project, it just wasn't going to work with mat board, unfortunately. All right, next one. All right, so these are those bottom struts that I was talking about. Basically, just wanted to show here that they are all different. They are all painted differently. They all have their own little chips and their own little different colorations on them. So these go on the bottom of that main span arch, and they will also be weathered once in place. You can go to the next one. So this is a side by side of those top layer struts. I wanted to show you just another example of how each one is completely different, and wanted to kind of show you the paint scheme on some of them. It's very, very diluted paint, very diluted paint. And that's mainly why it took so long to really do this. You have to paint the sides, the insides, the outsides. Every little square inch has to be covered with paint. And as I said before, this is just the base layer of corrosion, weathering, rust, and everything. There will be another paint job or weathering effect going over the entirety of it to blend it all together. You can go to the next one. So this here, these are the main span side pieces, and the little zigzag kind of portions you see there, I believe are called suspenders. But I wanted to basically show this, and I've got one sitting here too. Thought I did, maybe I don't. But you can see there that all of those are painted to the exact same specifications. Each one is a little bit different. They were all primed and then painstakingly over the course of about a month and a half, layer by layer by layer by layer, built up to give it this myriad of different colors and corrosion effects. So I also wanted to kind of show the size too there. It's kind of hard and difficult to see, but there you go. About how about how absolutely massive this is on this scale. I mean, even in scale, it's at first I was like, I can do that. But it is kind of starting to blow my mind a little bit how big this is going to be. Um, and you can see that there are little notches there on the tops and the bottoms. This is where those struts go. That's where they fit into place. And it's also given me a really good idea about how I'm going to affix the magnets whenever we get to that stage where some things that cannot or I do not want glued that I will have magnetized that's how they will be put in. So you can go to the next one. Just a close up of some of that very diluted paint, different mauve colors, deep rust colors, even some black, all kinds of different colors. Just a little close up of that. All right, you can go to the next. So here is the arch. There's two of these, obviously, and just wanted to show some of the slight weathering that I've done on each of these. On the one on the left, you can see on the bottom three levels. It's a little bit difficult to see here. Maybe you can see it, but there's actually some light green, brown, definitely black, and all kinds of different colors because I noticed when researching this, as it gets lower and lower toward the ground, vegetation has a way of being its own weathering device. You have moss that grows on these, all kinds of different plants and things that will grow on this. And as winter, fall, spring, summer, as it does its cycle, you do have this amazing just variation of color left behind, especially on stone. I see, because this is an interesting part of the bridge that is not made of steel. It's made of stone. So it makes for a very interesting paint job for sure. The one on the right shows the portion that will harbor the bottom arch of the bridge. So that will be a mirrored image on the other side. That will span about 6 feet from each of these to the other. And you can go to the next one. So one on the left is just the base. On the right are the roof systems, I suppose, the tops of each of those archways. Each part of this, individual pieces, layer by layer, few weeks of work just painting these individual little pieces, because in order to do that with a very diluted paint, obviously you guys know you have to let it dry between each layer. But those are complete, ready to go. And if I really do think that the top roof of that, I really like the look that accomplished by doing that very diluted paint scheme with different colors. It really does have that weathered look that I was going for, at least. So of course there'll be vegetation, things like that added to it, and weathering powders. But for now, that's a good base layer and a good start for me. All right, next. This here, the top two pieces there, that is the arch. See, how do I word this? That will actually be above the rail. So when the Amtrak train comes through the viaduct and leads into the bridge, it will cross underneath that. So I've started with a little bit of weathering that you would get from the smokestacks of the locomotives that go underneath. The ones that I've seen in all the tunnels and different bridges I've seen that have any type of stone abutments like this, I've noticed that there is quite a bit of black smoke type weathering on the tops of those archways where, of course, the train goes underneath. The two pieces on the bottom, these are the pieces that will be on the inside of the archway that you will not even ever see. And not only that, with the mat board, I will also create a convex and concave kind of support structure within that is exactly as the bridge is created. There will be no vacant spots in here where you will see the backs of these pieces at all. It will all be filled in exactly as it is in real life to the best of my ability. All right, you could go to the next one. So here I just wanted to show kind of the length of the main span here. Now these are, on the left picture, you see a row of 4 stringers. One, unfortunately, has had an accident and he's about to be repaired. But there's 4 sets of stringers that are made of 8 sets of girders and then the lateral plating system that goes on top. This is the lateral plating system that I also had developed and designed and made for this bridge. That is an exact replica of what is used on the bridge. On the right side of that left picture, you'll see I'm beginning to make the side railings, which almost appear to be walkways that run on either side of the bridge. That is what I thought they were. As I did research on this bridge, I realized that there are no walkways on this bridge. So I thought that these were maintenance walkways or even possibly pedestrian walkways. Apparently, I was wrong. They do not exist. Whatever the purposes of these, I have not found that out yet. All I know is that they do exist. And you can just see there the sheer size and length of these. It's difficult to even store while you're in the midst of building it, to be honest. But all right, next one. So these are the side railings of that, what I thought was a walkway I was telling you about. On the left-hand side is some mesh that I bought. It's wire mesh, metal mesh. It is not a fabric. And what I'm doing is I'm cutting that down to size, and that will run along the outside of each of the outermost railings on the bridge. It's prototypical to the bridge. I don't like the look of it whatsoever, but I am not going for what I like and what I want it to look like in this. I'm going for exactly as prototypical as I can. So it does have this wire mesh that's almost exactly the size of this. So that will be along the entire side of it, and that all has to be painted and weathered as well, which I've actually kind of found has been a chore more than I wanted. So if anybody has any nice little hints on how to paint that kind of material and get it to stick, please let me know afterwards. But next. All right, this is just another picture of the bridge. I wanted to show just kind of how you guys can see now what I'm talking about the pieces that I've showed you that I've built and what they actually look like on the bridge. So now that you've seen all those individual pieces, it's kind of easy to tell where they go and what they do, so on and so forth. I am completely aware that my girder struts that go across the top and the lateral suspenders, that they are very much three-dimensional in this picture, and mine are very much two-dimensional. I'm going to do my best to conquer that as well. Um, there are many companies right now doing 3D printing on microscopic levels that I think I can still pull that off. And like I said, I'm not going to stop until this thing is a spitting image of the real thing. Tom, do we have the picture of the graffiti at all?
Yes.
There it is. Okay. So, um, you guys were talking earlier. I saw as I was walking here about dilapidation and old rundown scenes and everything. And I mean, that's why we model. Let's be honest, because anybody can paint a wall red, but to actually model it and make it look beautiful and artistic and put effort into it, you got to make it run down. You know, you got to take it and make it something else, give it character, give it life. So there's quite a bit of graffiti that could be fortunate to you or unfortunate on this bridge. Um, I'm going to tell you how far I went into this. I've actually researched almost all of the graffiti artists that you see on this bridge. The picture on the right is the actual bridge. The picture on the left is my rendition of what I've done so far, the best I could so far. Still got a little bit of work to do, though, to replicate that. Um, Rams, the one on the left that is a blue and yellow, and the bottom S is white. That picture, this gentleman is a master of high altitude graffiti. And the people that are in that world call it heaven spots. This is something I didn't know. The places where you see graffiti that you just wonder, like, how on earth could somebody even get up there, let alone get up there and create art, you know, almost perfectly. There apparently are quite a few of these individuals that do this. He's from New Zealand. And the one to the right of that, this man named Diesel, is actually French. And he's done also many high altitude and large murals as well, all over the five boroughs of New York and all over the world. These people are apparently very well known and very well respected in their fields. There's quite a bit of graffiti littered all over this bridge, you know, the few miles of it that there are. Some of it is, well, most of it, I should say, is illegal. And most would call an eyesore. But some of it is actually sanctioned and commissioned work. There's a gentleman by the name of Kenji Takabayashi who has been commissioned to do some beautiful work. I believe it was a 9/11 tribute on the, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's the easternmost bottom section of the arch pier, and it is absolutely beautiful. The work he's done. It's probably 2 stories tall and I don't know, 100 feet long, and it is very nicely done. These, of course, were just people that were trying to get their name out there and kind of deface something. But as I said before, I'm just going to model what I see. All right. So, and also keep in mind too, this is in scale. This is tiny, tiny, tiny. So this was very, very difficult to do. Very, very difficult. This is not O scale. You know, I mean, this is those are not even the width of my finger by any means. But all right, next one. If there is another one. Oh, yep. So just wanted to show how I'm storing everything to the best of my ability at this moment. It's basically the left side and the right side of my hallway as you walk in right now. So I've got all the pieces sitting there that have been painted on one side, the ones that have not been painted on the other side. And anything that can be glued is glued at this point. Anything that cannot be glued yet is not. And guess we can go to the next one. And that's it. So as always, Ophelia, you know, my little helper. She's getting in the Christmas spirit now, so she's not barking as much at you guys anymore, which is always good news. So Well, thank you guys for listening to me. I had a very stressful and hectic week and day that I cannot even begin to explain, but it always makes me feel so much better to come see you guys. So thank you.
That is amazing work, Doc. And the rusting and the what type of paint are you using? What acrylic?
All acrylic.
Yeah, and you're
Everything is acrylic.
diluting it with water.
Yep. Well, yeah. Well, on this, yes, absolutely. Yeah. I don't always do it with water, but with this one, I am. Yeah.
Are they simply craft paint or are they modeling paint? What's your
A
preference?
mixture, a mixture. I
Like
would
Vallejo?
say most of them are craft paints.
Yeah.
I'm doing this on a budget. So I've watched a few videos on how you can pull things off with that. So that's what I'm
Yeah.
doing. That's one also reason why I do it very, very diluted. Um, and I just make sure that I do it slowly and I take my time and I don't put too much paint on so that there's not any warping or I don't, destroy the wood material at all. That's also the reason why it just takes so long. You have to be patient, and it's wearing my patience thin, but you have to be,
I think
especially
it'd
some
be,
of these pieces. I mean, you could literally pick it up like this, and just the weight of you picking it up could break it if you don't hold
yeah,
it correctly. You know what I'm saying? I mean, some of them are just so small.
I think it would be interesting to record your rusting process. You know, what paints, what order. I think that would make a nice video, a nice presentation itself. You know, you
Yeah, I can do that.
do a primer coat, you know, what the base
Yep.
material is, you do a primer coat, and then what the series of colors and washes and how you do that would be fascinating. And
Yeah, I
then,
learned the one of the mauve kind of color that I learned that from the gentleman from Canada, Boomer Diorama. He was weathering, I want to say it was a cow catcher on the front of a locomotive, and just said, if you don't know this color mauve, you have no business modeling rust or this type of material. And so I messed around for probably about 3 days until I found it. That mixture that makes that color, and I was like, "This isn't gonna work. It looks ridiculous. It's like some type of pink or something." And I swear it works. I was so blown away. So,
well, when you look at the photograph of the one of the final photographs of the bridge at the very end, the color of that bridge, I made a mental note, looks exactly like your base colors of your components right now. I mean, you've pulled it
I'm
off.
trying. Like I said, I want to make it to where it looks like the bridge from 10 feet away, and it also looks like the bridge from 10 inches away, if that makes sense.
It does.
So it's going to have to be a variation of colors that just comes in, and even as you stand back, they might all marry into one sort of slop of a color, but that's why it's a difficult puzzle to put together. But I am having fun with doing that. It's just the patience of doing it is wearing me thin. But
The other thing that would make a fascinating presentation is the graffiti. You know,
yeah,
that
oh yeah, yeah.
so I think if you would record again, you know, the how you went from the photograph that you have to you hand painted that, right?
Yep, I started out with this right here actually. Let's see. I
So a lot of
started
people,
out with oh gosh, that's too bright. Sorry, hold on. We'll get there. I started out with a pencil outline of each of these, very, very lightly pencil outline, because basically if I do something I can't cover up, or if I make a mistake I can't go back on them, it's over with. This piece has to be replaced, which means that I have to go in with a Dremel and redo each one of these and recess this piece right here, this square piece. I didn't want to do all that, so I had to very, very carefully. I mean, just to put it into perspective, each one of these stones, it's so hard to see. I'm sorry about my lighting situation. But if you can see the individual stones here
yeah,
going down, the layers of stones, each one of these is exact to the stones that are on the real bridge. I measured these graffiti pieces by the stones on the
Yeah.
picture because I couldn't fly to New York and pull out
Yeah.
a 150-foot tape measure. So what I did was I measured it by the exact stones, and that was how I just determined the size, width, and height of each one of these. And like I said, did it with a pencil, and then did it with mainly. Now I did some brushwork, but mainly with these right here.
Yeah. Well, I think that would make an interesting show. You know, a lot of people do the graffiti with an art program and make a decal and slap it on there. You're actually doing real artwork there, and I think that's to be noted by everybody. You know,
Yeah,
so
many people commented on Facebook and things asking if they were decals, told me they could help and make decals. If it ever gets to the point where I think it does not represent the true thing, I'll go that route. But as long as I can pull it off, I'm going to do it all by hand.
no, I think what you're doing is the real deal. So that's
Yeah,
phenomenal modeling. You're doing a great
thank you.
job, and it's going to be a museum piece when you're done.
I hope so.
Terrific. Great job, and we look forward to part three. Another 5 months, right?
Maybe not that long. Maybe not that long. I hope not.
Well,
We're
thank you
going to
very
get some
much.
builds done here pretty soon. Thank you
Any,
guys.
any questions for Doc before he goes?
Yeah, I have a question. Doc, so the ironwork, especially the one piece you showed that has the curved iron with the cross members in it, are you
Yeah,
laser cutting that?
it's MDF laser cut wood. Yeah, hold on. I got a piece.
So some of that you're,
This,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
that's all one laser cut piece.
So I had a question in some of that you're having problems with.
Each of these
Did,
go like that.
did you think about going plastic, going, jeez, I can't think of the term now.
3D printing. Talk about 3D printing.
No, I was thinking about just the pieces that you were having where they were warpings and so on. Is just using plastic, not acrylics, modeled plastic,
Irene?
styrene. That's what I'm thinking of. Did you think about using styrene for doing that?
To be honest, it never crossed my mind. The thought of it actually scares me. Um, Styrene as all one piece would be impossible, I would think. And then if there were individual little pieces, I just don't think it would support the weight unless I had some type of way to brace it or fasten it that would take away from the aesthetic look of it.
That
I
laser board's nice. It's nice and stiff. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
That
I mean
MDF
this
board.
this thing right here, I mean it's still got, some, like I said, some curve to it just from its own weight. But imagine if this was, 400 individual styrene pieces glued together. There's no way I could hold this like this right now, in my opinion, without it being braced in some way that
I wasn't thinking
I think
about
it
that.
would take away from the aesthetic look.
I wasn't thinking about that piece in particular, but
This
uh, so there's different
now
types of.
some elements are plastic. Some elements of this are plastic.
Okay.
I do have some plastic elements for sure. Just not that main support structure piece, if that makes sense.
Whatever that piece was that you were showing that you were having problems with, looked like a piece of
Oh,
plastic.
this.
Yeah.
This?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, see, what I had before, I was using mat board. Mat board, whenever I painted it or put any amount of weight on it, it would just start to warp and do funny, weird things. And what I mean by, I guess the way to put this is I'm sure that mat board would have been fine in a larger scale where a fraction of a millimeter doesn't matter. But in scale, it's like the width of a body, a human body. So when I went with this, everything just all the precision just came so perfectly down the middle when I switched to this. And that was what I wanted to try to fix, was that issue that I was having, is that all these little pieces and little details and everything, if you accidentally drop it and it bumps on the ground, it's ruined, just because that little fraction of a millimeter means so much in a small scale. I won't be doing this again, if that answers your question too.
That piece
All
in
right.
particular,
Going to O scale.
not styrene, but there's like PVC plastic that you can also get that is
Yeah.
kind of a little bit of expanded, and it's really rigid and really strong. That's why I was mentioning it.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of random materials over there. I don't know if you can see, but all those
Okay.
things over there are just random pieces of material that I actually worked with and tried to use. And nothing came out better for me than MDF.
All right. We got to move on here. Well,
But
thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Doc. Excellent job. And we look forward to part 3 whenever you're ready.
See you guys.